remains with the GOP. He's a Republican strategist, MSNBC political analyst, an outspoken Trump critic, and the author of the book Still Right, an immigrant-loving, hybrid-driving, composting American makes the case for conservatism. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being with us. SHERMICHAEL, let me start with you. What made you leave the Republican Party?
You know, Ali, what made me leave was one of my favorite quotes from Aristotle that he writes in Book 3 of the Politics, that virtues that are moral and intellectual ability are a necessity for an individual to yield power. And I reached a point where I recognized that the President of the United States is not consistent with those values. And those are the values that are necessary for a democracy, a free society to thrive. And so it became clear to me that either I continue to fight, and I realized I was losing that battle, or I object and join other individuals to say we have to self-correct and do everything we can to correct course. And that means removing Mr. Trump from office.
And Rick, what makes you stay?
I don't disagree with SHERMICHAEL at all. In Virginia, we don't have party registration, so it's not like I could go down and unregister. In fact, for the first time in my life, I drew a Democratic ballot and voted in the Democratic primary, and I voted for Joe Biden. I was somewhat reluctant to watch his speech because I was afraid I would lose my resolve. But for 24 minutes, I imagined a world without Donald Trump, and I thought, on balance, overall, it was an excellent speech, and I could support Joe Biden for the reason that he's going to help me kill the alligator that's closest to the boat. If he's an alligator down the river, we'll deal with that later. But right now, Donald Trump is a threat, an existential threat to American democracy and a national security threat. He needs to be removed from office, and I predicted that Americans will do that on November 3rd.
SHERMICHAEL, it's no surprise that Donald Trump's playing footsie with the QAnon folks, because there's a large proportion of Americans, some 23% last time I think they were polled, believe that Barack Obama is a Kenyan-born Muslim, and there are a lot of conspiracy theorists in America, and they're never going to find a guy like Trump again. So they're close to him. But the racism, the blatant racism and the appointment, the nomination of these candidates, these racist candidates, these anti-Semites, these Islamophobes, at some point this is fundamentally damaging to the party that had a proud heritage.
No, it's damaging to the party, Al. It's damaging to the country. You're seeing this rise and continued increase in ethno-nationalism and nativism. You're seeing individuals who are pseudo-intellectual to facts, to history, to norms and standards. If you study every great conservative philosopher, from the more recent Roger Scruton all the way to the great Edmund Burke, each of those great men wrote against these types of things. And so today you see a Republican Party that is inconsistent with its philosophical underpinnings. But Ali, I will say that these things have been in the making for a very long time. And I think that's why you see so many Americans are so hesitant, so skeptical, and so anti-Republican, because the Republican Party today has come to represent something that is repulsive and, again, against the liberties that we represent as a free society.
So, Rick Tyler, and I can say this to you because you and I are friends and we know each other. SHERMICHAEL's right. This has been happening for a long time. What responsibility do people like you have to not having shut this nonsense down when you had a chance, back while you were still drawing Republican ballots?
Well, let me say this, Ali, and you said it in your monologue, which I appreciated very much. And you mentioned Colin Powell and John Governor Kasich and others. I still believe that the rank and file, the rank and file Republicans I knew, would never allow QAnon in the door. There's always going to be a radical fringe among any group, and certainly the Republican Party has them. But leaders would shut the door on them. Trump didn't do that. He opened it wide open, and now they've become mainstream. What I blame my party for is not rejecting it. And the reason I wrote my book, Still Right, is precisely what SHERMICHAEL was talking about. Is we need to lay down a marker of what conservative values are and what they mean. And on so many issues, including racism, immigration, which takes the form of racism in his policies, in trade, it's the same thing. Trade, immigration, economic policy. This president is 180 degrees out of phase. Now, I'll admit that the conservative ideology has always been an unwanted stepchild in the Republican Party, except under Reagan, which they got to eat at the main dinner table, not at the kids' table. Now we're not only not invited back to the dinner table, we're not invited at all. And the people at the dinner table who engage and embrace racist policies and utterances actually call themselves conservative. And I think words mean things. And so I want to lay down a marker of what the conservative philosophy is, not people who just call themselves conservative.
SHERMICHAEL, did you experience any of that in the Republican Party?
I mean, not from political leaders, but certainly in my experiences, I've seen some folks where I've thought to myself, I don't necessarily think these people belong to the party. And a part of me being a part of the GOP, Allie, my entire time I've always fought to try to change some of those things in the Republican Party, because from my perspective, I wanted a party where African Americans in particular could see an opportunity to potentially vote for Republicans, because many do have conservative values. Again, as I stated earlier, I unfortunately believe that I lost that fight. I tried, Allie. I tried every single thing I could, man. And unfortunately, it has become clear to me that there are some people in the party who just don't want to go in that direction. I accept that. But for me, I say I don't want to be a part of it.
Rick, I got a minute left, but I would like a world in which somebody can actually get up and say, I'd like to choose between the Republican and the Democratic candidate in my district, in my state, or for the presidency. That's not the moment we're in right now. How long before the Republican Party can actually become a thing that reasonable people can say, this is a real choice?
Well, a couple of things. I think the party is going to suffer a 74 Watergate wipeout, and I think that's necessary. I think the Republican Party has to reject Trumpism and everything that it is embraced. It's going to take a long time for the Republican Party to recover and to regain its conservative philosophy, or any philosophy at all for that matter. The Democrats can do their part by showing how to become a governing majority. If they go too far to the left, they will be rejected again, and we'll be in this constant battle. I'd like to see us return to policy arguments, though, and not this vitriolic partisan division that is practiced by our president.
What I would give to have policy arguments, disagreements,
I'd love to have policy
real
arguments with you,
debates.
Ali, 'cause I know you know your stuff.
We used to do that, Rick. We used to do that. Remember?
I know, remember?
We will do it again.
Those were fun times.
We will do it again. As Ayanna Pressley said, policy is my love language. I think we all three share that. SHERMICHAEL Singleton, thank you. Good to see you, my friend. Political consultant and independent now. Rick Tyler, Republican strategist.